Hey everyone, it is Serenity, and I am not okay. Is there like a word for when you are too excited for something? Because I need that word right now. It is the Silence Before the Storm. The third expansion of Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons, is almost here. And I am way too excited about that. Look what Arena sent over today. They sent over End of Dragons headphones. I can't believe this is actually a thing. And they also sent over this mouse, which we'll be giving away on stream soon. Thanks, Arenas. To be clear, this is not like a sponsored video, but they did send over these things, which made me very happy. And they kind of added to my hype a little bit, I guess. So today, I thought it would be fun to share my hype a little bit. And I just kind of want to explain to you why I am like unreasonably excited for this expansion. I feel like making a video is a pretty great way to get this hype overload out of my system. If you haven't been following all of the expansion news, then this video should get you right up to speed. But I also want to talk a little bit about my hopes and expectations for the expansion. What does End of Dragons need to do to live up to my enormous hype? Alright everyone, let's dive right into this. Open worlds. First of all, let's talk a little bit about one of the things which Guild Wars 2 does best, open world content. End of Dragons is set to introduce 4 brand new open world maps on the continent of Canva. And that's right, in this expansion we are finally going back to Canva. Canva was the second continent we visited in Guild Wars 1, all the way back in 2006. It holds a special place in the hearts of many Guild Wars veterans because of its incredibly unique and memorable setting. Each of the 4 distinct areas of Canva, Xingjie Island, Kaineng City, the Echoveld Forest, and the Jade Sea will be returning as an open world map in Guild Wars 2. I am incredibly excited for these maps. Based on what we have seen so far, they seem enormous and absolutely stunning. From sprawling mountainous landscapes, to beautiful grottos inside of the Jades, to cozy spooky ruins. I think that these maps are going to be the prettiest maps out of all of Guild Wars 2. The areas look distinct from Guild Wars 1, but there seems to be lots of Guild Wars 1 landmarks and callbacks for that sweet nostalgia. But beautiful maps only get you so far. There also needs to be a reason for players to keep revisiting these maps beyond their first run through. We want meta events, with big bosses and exciting rewards, so that we will be waypointing to these maps for years to come. Unfortunately, we don't know much about the meta events of End of Dragons yet, but we did see some cool bosses in the gameplay trailer that RenaNet released recently. And they certainly look exciting, but I guess we will just have to see for ourselves when the expansion comes out. I think it is essential for RenaNet to nail the rewards for these metas. It is very clear to me that even if a meta event is really fun, people will just not play it if the rewards aren't good enough. I really hope that to craft these new legendaries, running these metas a bunch of times will be a requirement. And also RenaNet, please add some of those rare sweet infusion drops. Those always get people interested.
You got a vial of liquid aurelium?
You got it?
Good?
What?
Is that good?
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Elite Specializations. End of Dragons is of course introducing a brand new set of Elite Specializations. Elite Specializations can change the way a class plays in a pretty significant way. This makes me very excited because Elite Specializations can breathe new life into all existing Guild Wars 2 content. There are raid bosses that I have killed 100 times, but with a brand new Elite Specialization, it suddenly feels fresh again. We have had a couple of different beta events in which we have got to try out these new Elite Specializations. There are some really cool new ideas there. Mesmers can now become virtuosos. They give up their clones to summon floating blades instead. I love the super flashy blade animation on this. If you never got into Mesmer because you didn't like the clone mechanic, this is the Elite Specialization for you. The new Necromancer spec is called the Harbinger. This spooky gunslinger can throw elixirs to support their allies, making Necromancer a viable boon provider for the first time. The Blight mechanic turns the super tanky Necromancer upside down a little bit. To maximize their damage, they will now have to sacrifice some of their own health. I think that's super interesting. And Guardians can now become a Willbender. They get access to lots of martial art style attacks with some really cool animations, and they can now provide alacrity for some reason. We'll have to see if there's any goes, but I guess that was like the one thing Guardian couldn't do yet. Warrior is getting Bladesworn. They get access to a special gun-based weapon which they can charge up to release devastating attacks. I really enjoyed this one during the beta. Basically, you're like doing epic damage, like then you press F2.
Calm before the storm.
Bam! Revenant is not getting one new legend to channel, but two. Saint Victor and Archimars. I gotta just quickly brag, I totally called this. It could be kinda cool if you could channel them as a duo. Maybe the hero is actually the Saint Victor and Archimars duo. They also get a super cool new dodge, which feels absolutely incredible. As an Elementalist main, the elite spec that I am the most excited about is the Catalyst. When I first got to try it, I was honestly not really a fan. The spec just felt a little bit almost like painful to play. The mechanics just felt a little bit unintuitive and difficult to execute. However, the second time I got my hands on Catalyst, I was having much more fun with this. It felt like the whole specialization had been smoothed over a bit, and like everything just made a lot more sense. And now it's even my favorite out of the End of Dragon specs. I love the idea of putting down lots of combo fields, comboing off of those and hitting foes with my fiery hammer. Thief is getting Spectre, the first ever support in Guild Wars 2 that needs to target specific allies. In Guild Wars 2, supporting allies is usually done by throwing AoEs on them. This is almost Guild Wars 2's first traditional MMO support spec. Thief was pretty much the only class in the game without a good support build, so this makes me very happy. The Engineer has upped their engineering skills and can now become a Mechanist. The Mechanist has a cute, enormous mech friend following them around. You can customize your mech to be more supporty or to be more offensive. One of my best beta memories was taking down a raid boss with tons of these mechs. Cannot wait for this one. The final lead spec is the one for Ranger, the Untamed. The Untamed gains access to more fine-grained control over their pets. There's also a mechanic where either the pet or the player becomes unleashed, dealing extra damage. It sounds really cool on paper, but I gotta say, this is probably my least favorite of the lead specs right now. I just kept feeling that my pet wasn't really all that impactful, even when it was unleashed. In the final beta events, Arena made a lot of tweaks and changes to these elite specs. Like I said, Catalyst went from being one of my least favorite specs to the one that I am the most excited about. I hope that we will see a lot more of these improvements when the expansion comes out. Not everyone is going to like every single elite spec, and that is okay, but so far it feels like ArenaNet is trying their absolute best to listen to feedback, and that gives me a lot of hope. By the way, I 100% expect some of these new elite specializations to be either completely overpowered or entirely useless on release. This is what we experienced with Path of Fire. Maybe this time around the betas will have helped a bit with making the lead specs more balanced, but we will just have to see. I hope that if anything does turn out to be completely broken, ArenaNet will be standing by to quickly make necessary changes. Fishing, Skiffs and Turtles. That could be the name of a fantastic reality show. Fishing, Skiffs and Turtles. I would watch. End of Dragons is finally turning Guild Wars 2 into a good game by adding fishing. I feel like the community is pretty split on this. Half the community could not care less, and the other half is incredibly excited. I am in the latter camp. I don't think fishing is going to fundamentally change Guild Wars 2 and set the world on fire, but it just seems like a cozy, comfy way to pass the time. Sure, MMOs need epic, challenging content, but I think that they also need ways for you to just relax a little bit. You just did your raid clear, now put on some music and go catch some fish with your friends. One of the first things I want to do once the expansion is out is try to catch every single fish. We will also get access to Skiffs, tiny boats which you can use to traverse canvas many watery locations. These are different from the skimmer mounts because your friends can ride with you on your skiff. You can anchor your skiff to catch some fish, hang out or play some music. These, once again, just seem like a comfy, cozy way to spend some time with your friends. I cannot wait to organize a boat concert with my musicals. The expansion is also introducing a brand new mount, the Siege Turtle. The Siege Turtle is the first ever 2-player mount in Guild Wars 2. You can use it to show your brand new friends around Queensdale, or to carry your lazy guildmate to the meta events. Besides this, it is also the first ever combat mount. The second rider can control cannons and shoot enemies to smithereens. We already got to try out the Siege Turtle a little bit in a beta, and it is actually pretty strong. It is really good at taking out trash mobs, but if you want to fight a boss with loads of HP, you are better off dismounting. The cannons of your siege turtle will eventually run out of ammo. PvE Endgame. End of Dragons will also finally give us some new PvE Endgame content. The last new fractal we got was over a year ago, and the last raid we got was about 2.5 years back. So really, it's about time. End of Dragons will be adding 4 brand new strike missions at launch. I find this incredibly exciting. I had a great time with the previous 2 Guilds 2 expansion launches, but I always wish that there would be some new group content, some instance content to play with my brand new elite spec. Instance group content would always arrive a little bit after the expansion launch. Not this time. These strike missions will be available on launch day. There has been some negativity in the community about us getting new strike missions instead of brand new raids. For those of you that are out of the loop, let me explain. Guild 2 raid wings consist of several boss fights and encounters, usually with some events to do in between. They are usually quite challenging, and most Guild 2 players have not completed them. Strike missions were designed as a bridge towards raiding content. They're just single boss fights with no fluff around them, and they were significantly easier than raids, making them much more accessible to newer players. So of course, in the past, when we would get strike missions, most hardcore raiders weren't too interested in them. They don't want easier content, they want more of the really hard stuff. However, these brand new End of Dragons strike missions will get a special challenge mode in the weeks after launch. This challenge mode will make the encounter much more difficult. According to ArenaNet, they should feel like proper raid bosses. As a raider myself, I absolutely love this. Finally, after 2.5 years, we are getting brand new challenging raid-like bosses. And at the same time, we are also getting the regular mode, which is more accessible for players with less time and less motivation to learn the really challenging fights. I think these strike missions could actually turn out to be better than raids. Raids in Guild 2 are absolutely awesome, but unfortunately only a small part of the community has the dedication to complete them. But these new strike missions have 2 difficulty settings. They have the potential to appeal to everyone. And if you want to get into the hard stuff, it should be a lot easier to get into the challenge mode after having practiced in the normal mode. Can you tell I'm excited about these? I think that these strikes have the potential to be the future of Guild 2 Endgame. I really hope that they live up to my expectations. So far, we haven't seen much of these strike missions. Some journalists have had the chance to play one of them with gold mode turned on. Only time can tell if these strike missions will live up to their potential, but I've got really good hopes. These strike missions are being made by some of the same people who did the Sunqua Peak Fractal. That fractal is accessible to newer players in Tier 1 through Tier 4, and it's got a challenge mode that's arguably the hardest 5-man fight in the game. If these strikes are only half as good as Sunqua Peak, I will be extremely happy. Story. Speaking of things we haven't seen yet, let's talk a little bit about the story of End of Dragons. As a lore nerd, I care a lot about this. We know surprisingly little about what's going on in this expansion. We know a little bit about the state of Canva and characters who show up in the story, but there are a lot of fundamental questions that remain unanswered. Why are we going to Canva? Is the deep sea dragon involved? How does Arene factor into all of this? We really have got no clue. I kinda wanna do a video where I just try to predict the entire story, but that's definitely gonna be a tough one. Part of me actually likes the fact that we are mostly going into the story blindly. I am not a very patient person, so when there is a new movie or game that I am excited for, I usually end up watching all of the trailers. Usually, I already know the basic premise of the story. End of Dragons is just a mystery, and that's kind of intriguing. What I am hoping for is a satisfying conclusion to the dragon story of Guild 2. And this game has focused on elevator dragons ever since its launch almost a decade ago, and to be honest, I'm kinda done with it. I want to see what ArenaNet's writers can come up with when the dragons are no longer a factor. But before that, we need this story to have a satisfying conclusion. I hope it will be sufficiently epic. Legendary weapons. End of Dragons will also introduce a brand new set of legendary weapons. Instead of each legendary having its own distinct theme, this time all of the legendaries will be themed after the dragon Arene. These new legendaries look absolutely gorgeous, and they've got some really flashy effects as well. There's even a brand new effect that triggers on killing an enemy. I am definitely gonna make one of these. While these legendaries are looking really stunning, the community was initially quite disappointed that all the legendaries have the same aesthetic. I totally understand this. If those arena legendaries are not your style, or if they don't fit your character, you're just kind of out of luck. Fortunately, ArenaNet has announced that sometime after launch, you will be able to unlock different appearances for these legendaries. These appearances will be themed after the older Elder Dragons. You can, for example, unlock the Zaitan swords, which might fit with your spooky necromancer, or the Primordial staff for your fiery elementalist. This means that there will be tons of different legendaries, and finding one that fits your character should be a lot easier. Technically, I don't think it has been officially confirmed if you can unlock all 6 appearances using just one legendary, but I hope that you can. Then these legendaries could become super versatile, and you could use the same legendary with different appearances on different characters. Arborstone and Jade bots. End of Dragons is shipping with 5 brand new mastery lines, and after fishing, skiffs and turtles, that means that there are still 2 mastery lines left. The first of these is Arborstone Revitalization. Arborstone is going to be the hub area of End of Dragons, like how we have the Eye of the North for the Iceboot Saga. From this place, you'll be able to enter the different End of Dragons strike missions. You'll be able to upgrade Arborstone by leveling up a mastery. The reason I am excited for Arborstone is that it will kind of function like a brand new city. You will be able to hang out here together with other players before you set out to do some adventuring in Canva. I love cities and MMOs. I have spent thousands of hours in Divinity's Reach, just talking with strangers and playing music with friends. MMOs to me are also a social experience, and cities are where that happens. Guild Wars 2 expansions have never really added cities before, and I always thought that was such a shame. Path of Fire did add Amnoon, but Amnoon was still a part of a large explorable area. Not too many players would actually hang out there. But Arborstone will be entirely on its own dedicated map, and if you want to do End of Dragons strikes, you will have to go there. I really dislike the idea of going to this brand new continent and then having to waypoint all the way back to Lion's Arch every time you want to take a break and visit some vendors. Now there will be a brand new place to do that in Canva, and that just adds to my immersion a lot. And then there is one other final mastery for End of Dragons. This is the Jade Bolt's mastery. We don't actually know that much about this mastery yet. It will be shown off in a livestream a little bit over a week from now. But we did catch a sneak peek at it in the recent gameplay features trailer. It looks like this mastery will allow tiny Jade bolts to help you out on your adventuring. Here we see a Jade bolt boosting a player upwards while gliding, a bit like a mobile updraft. And here, it looks like a Jade bolt is rezzing a player. That looks darn useful. It also looks like Jade bolts might allow you to ride ziplines over in Kaineng. One of my biggest criticisms of the mastery system is that very often masteries only end up being relevant in 1 or 2 areas of the world. My favorite masteries are the ones that prove useful everywhere. And I gotta say, from what we have seen, the Jade Bolt's mastery track is shaping up to be a mastery track that I do like. Alright everyone, I think we kind of covered everything. As you can probably tell, my excitement for this expansion is like way off the charts. The last expansion was over 4 years ago, so it feels so good to finally get a big new content drop like this. I can't believe it's only a couple of weeks away. Honestly, I should probably calm down a little bit. It feels like this expansion is adding stuff for almost everyone. There are new pretty wonderful maps to explore. There will be new challenging endgame content. You can spend your entire day fishing and chilling in Arborstone if that's your thing. This will also be the first time that I will be discovering an expansion while streaming. That just adds to my excitement even more. I cannot wait to open to some of these brand new metas together with our community and explore Canva together with all of you. It's gonna be so good to play some actually new content on the stream after a year in which we haven't had much new stuff. I absolutely cannot wait. If you want to, you can check out my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/nuanity. We're pretty much like an End of Dragons waiting room right now. You can also check out my Discord, which is called a fantastic community, and you can follow me at Twitter at Lara_IRL. And that's it for me today. I will see you soon with more End of Dragons content.